Welcome to the Q&A for The Devil's Chair. I was almost going to say broken. Yeah.
Als er iets moet verteld worden of zo, zeg het dan gewoon en dan zullen we dat vertalen naar het Frans of naar het Nederlands.
We're too tired to do that anyway.
Si
at
vous
this
avez
hour.
besoin de traduction, dis-nous.
About translating. Is it working?
Hello.
Yes, there we go. Okay.
Nou,
How
You're-
tired are you out of 10?
At this moment, actually, this is quite an adrenaline rush. So
Really?
let's go for it.
Like a 9 or a 10? Okay.
now, first question. You referenced Hellraiser in the film. Yesterday when we talked, you referenced Hellraiser as well. Were you influenced by that kind of stuff, by like Clive Barker, Neil Gaiman, maybe even before H.P. Lovecraft, that kind of horror? And was it your intention to make a film which at least partly was situated in that genre?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, I grew up loving Reanimator. I mean, Stuart Gordon's coming tomorrow, and he's one of my heroes, total heroes. You know, I love Reanimator. I love a lot of Lovecraft stuff. You know, I'm a massive fan. And then the film kind of it turned into this kind of weird, twisted homage to those films. But I mean, to say that I'm not a fan of those films would be an understatement. So.
Reanimator was based on a short story by Lovecraft as well. It was changed a lot, and it was difficult to recognize the story, but it's still Lovecraftian horror, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, like I mean, obviously the whole demon and the whole other realm and all that stuff is totally Lovecraft. And
You said it turned into this kind of story. Does that mean it didn't start out like that?
well, I mean, the way the film happened was quite weird. I basically got a call from this guy who had repped Broken, selling Broken in the States, and he said to me, "We have 3 weeks. We have this amount of money, which was like $300,000, but we have to start filming 3 weeks from today. Can you do something?" And I went, "All right." And
What was going to happen to the money after 3 weeks?
well, they wouldn't have got it. It was like a tax thing. Basically, they had to. I think they'd spent a lot of money trying to develop this other script, and essentially, if we hadn't put that film into production, then they would have lost that. I'm probably going to end up in prison for saying this, but that's the truth, you know. And so me and Simon, the guy who wrote Broken with me, we wrote a script in 3 days, which is really fucking hard to do, you know. Like it's. And we just knew we were going to start filming on this day. We had to start filming on the 1st of March, whatever it was. And so we did, you know, we wrote a script, and it wasn't... We had a bunch of other scripts that we'd been working on for years, and they were a lot better than Devil's Chair, you know. But we had to create something new that was based on this certain thing. Yes. It was kind of... It had to be set in this asylum, and there was a few things that we had to do, basically. And, you know, we did it, and then the film turned into something different. Like the whole ending, for example, I completely improvised that with the actors. That was never in the script. The company who made it, who financed it, wanted to make kind of a PG-13 kind of film. You look shocked. Okay. And I was like...
You are now in the midnight extreme slot at Biff, excuse me?
Yeah, okay. And I was like, you know, fuck that. I mean, I'm the director of Broken. I don't feel comfortable with that at all, which is why the middle of the film is so kind of traditional in that sense. So that was like a love story kind of thing. And then the end was completely improvised on the day. They had no idea what we were doing. The film didn't end the way that it ends now at all. It ended with him defeating the demon. And we just went for it, you know.
I find that incredible to hear that about this ending, because while I was watching the movie, I felt that the whole thing was structured in order to lead to that ending.
Yeah.
So, in heaven's name, how did this happen then?
Well, it's kind of like if you set out to make a bad film, you know, like it would be the middle of that film. In the sense that I'm really proud of it, but it's really cheesy and it's really traditional and it's really obvious. And then the end I just kind of made my own, you know. And then we actually went back and reshot the whole beginning. The beginning was completely different. Right. In the original shoot, it was a totally different beginning.
Yeah. I suppose you had to make it a bit less clear what was happening.
Yeah, a little bit, you know. Yeah. And then, I mean, voiceover is used to save films a lot of times, and it was in this case, you know. Like, it's not. I feel very weird about Devil's Shade. Like, it's a very personal film because of the way that we ended up finishing it. And I'm proud of it because it's so weird, but it's not necessarily the film that I would have made right after Broken. You know, like I've just made another film which is like the clear stepping stone between Broken and where I am now. You know?
Did you add other elements to suit the ending as well? Because it seemed that you were foreshadowing stuff. For example, in one of the scenes, he throws away his antipsychotic medicine.
Right.
So I thought that was like foreshadowing the fact that he was still suffering from a psychosis. Or was that just in the script, and did you keep it without it being a foreshadowing scene?
No, I kind
originally?
of, when I was making the film, I always knew what I wanted to do with it, but I was under the impression from the production company that I couldn't go so far, but I was trying to do it without them knowing, if that makes sense, you know?
So you stepped them in the back.
Yeah, so I mean, so the end was, I tried to make the most intense ending I could, you know? And I remember the day before we shot that, I went out on the set and I just walked it through because there was no script pages for that at all. Like, the whole thing was scripted. And the actresses were really upset with the whole, because I mean, they were thinking they were making this other thing that they read in the script, and I was like, you know, you can have this guy calling you a cunt, but, you know, basically it was me and Andrew Howard, the actor. We went out that day and we shot like 12 minutes in one day, and that was probably the best experience I've ever had filmmaking. So.
You say they were upset in a bad way. Did they try to protest, or?
Well, I think, you know, when you're working with actors, especially in horror stuff, like, actors want to know what they're getting into, especially girls. Like, if you go, all right, you strip, for example, they want to know that they have the strip. I've been through that a bunch of times, and you know, they were cool about it. You know, I think they ended up enjoying the experience because it was a really amazing. That one day was, like I said, was the best day's film I've ever had in my life because it was experimental and it was a lot of fun. So.
I guess in a way the film is about a psychopath who also suffers from psychosis, who pretends to suffer from some kind of different kind of psychosis than he's really suffering from. Did you do any research on those kind of afflictions, and did the actor do any research about those kind of afflictions? Because as a therapist myself, sometimes he was really spot on in his acting.
Right.
When he was actually doing the psychotic stuff.
I mean, Andrew, the guy who played Nick, I think he's actually kind of a genius at what he does. You know, like, he's a really strong actor, and it was a real pleasure to work with him. You know, and kind of, I'd never worked with an actor like that before, who was so experimental and so into like the whole process of it. From a personal point of view, you know, I'm into psychology and stuff. I love it, and I guess as far as the research goes, yeah, you know, me and Simon looked into it, but Andrew kind of brought a whole different level to it, and I cannot say whether he looked into the ins and outs of it, but he totally elevated the whole movie, I think. So.
Let's just have a quick run if there's anybody from the audience who wants to ask a question, and if not, we can move on to the end. Is er iemand in het publiek die met een vraag?
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions?
Niemand? Okay, well, that means the field is ours.
That means no.
I'm going to go back to this. I think I want to ask a question to the writer now instead of the director, okay? I think I've seen this now a few times at the festival, that you guys do these things by instinct, correctly. And I'm reading this writer somewhere on the Internet Movie Database. He has this whole theory developed about how you can create narratives inside narratives and engage the audience by doing that. Because the old way, just have good acting or just a good story. We have the audience, especially I think here, we've seen everything more or less. You know, you don't just engage us into the movie anymore with traditional methods. You know, at the BIFF audience likes to shout comments at the movies. Nobody made any comment on your movie. You know why? Because you already made them in the movie. You know, you have a story that, like Russian dolls, contains a story inside it and a story inside it, and all these stories are commenting on each other. Now, it's when I came out of the movie, it's like these guys worked like 6 months on this story, but you didn't. You know, you all do this by instinct. Have you any idea why this works?
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's
Maybe you. Yeah.
we weren't happy with the film when we made it. You know, we wrote it in 3 days, and it was kind of a fuck up. You know, like a glorious fuck up. Yeah. And then we just had this ending that I loved. You know, and that was kind of my stamp on the whole thing. And then we went back, and over a period of time, the one luxury I had with the film was that I could just go back and we reshot the whole beginning, like I said, you know, and that was a total blessing. So Simon and I were basically rewriting the script while we'd finished the film. Like, but
I think I understand you. You wrote a bad horror movie, and then you stepped back and said, "We wrote a bad horror movie, so we're going to make a movie about a bad horror movie," and that's how all these stories became nested inside each other, right?
Well, in a way, it was like, you know, like that. I love all that kind of Lovecraft stuff, and I love, like I said, I love Hellraiser and stuff. And it was meant to be a homage to those kind of films. But then when I stood back and looked at what we had, it was like, so in that sense, it's like a postmodern piss take on those kind of films.
If you decided on the ending afterwards. One thing that distinguishes Lovecraft or Clive Barker from a lot of other authors is that they actually have created their own mythology, and they heighten the sense of disbelief because there's a mythology behind their story. So were you thinking of a mythology before you decided to make the ending about a psychotic break and a psychopath?
Well, I mean, the whole stuff with the demon, you know, I wanted to set it in this other realm, which is what we called the whole place where they go with the demon, you know. And I was when we made the film, when I had 3 weeks of prep, you know, all I was focused on was the demon and how the other realm would look. And in hindsight, I'm really proud of that, you know. Like, I love the demon. I'm really pleased with what they did. I mean, effects-wise, it's it's really cool.
It's too bad your friend isn't joining us at the moment, because
Tristan.
Yeah, well,
he's just
here. Oh, why don't you just crawl with us here and just for a second explain us how you made the monster, because it looks incredibly real.
Okay, Tristan actually didn't make the monster.
Oh no.
Tristan did all of the effects at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And then he did all of the whole end sequence.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, either way, somebody explain me how this monster was created, because it looks very real, but it is obviously not just a model.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should, but
okay.
it was basically I always knew that I wanted to avoid CGI, believe it or not, even though there's some CGI in the film. But we got this effects company involved, and you know, my production designer Neil Jenkins did a couple of drawings, because I always wanted to be based on the Grim Reaper, like something really tall. But then we got into issues of, can it move? You know, this thing. And it was that was the one tragedy of the film, was the fact that the monster couldn't move. Because I mean, what's scary about something that can't actually walk? You know. So, but I had a great experience with those guys, and they did an amazing job on the whole demon and stuff. But
I guess one thing that makes an effective monster often is the fact that it has to be organic in some way. I think most monsters that made a mark on movie or TV series history are organic in some way. Even the Borg or the Daleks have an organic component. So I think the entire film looked really organic. Was it something you were striving for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my description of the demon was always like, it was like pestilence, you know, basically flies and just something that would stink. I wanted it to kind of stink at the audience as if you could smell it without. Obviously, you can't smell in the cinema, but I wish you could, you know. And that was a big thing for me, like talking about Lovecraft and everything. Like, I really wanted it to be a kind of definitive.
It made me think of Nyarlathotep or the Dark Young of Shop-Niggurath, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's cool. But yeah.
Maybe since Kristen is here now, a little question about his short movie. Which girl broke your heart?
Brilliant.
There wasn't a specific girl that broke my heart, but I think
All of them.
yeah, I think all of them combined together to make this one kind of moment, I think.
Right.
No, it was just an expression of a feeling rather than a specific event in my life, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I think we got that. Yeah.
So how did you guys meet each other? How did you end up a while back doing the special effects for his films?
I met Adam on Dust, which was years ago when I was a young sort of aspiring effects artist. I was 17, I was quite young and fresh, and I kind of met Adam, and we just, don't know, I just had a great time working on this film, and I've just kind of done all this film since, really, and we just kind of...
Did you by any chance? I'm sorry, I didn't check any IMDb credits on Broken. Did you by any chance also work on Broken? Yeah.
Yes,
So
I
you
worked on
are the
Broken.
one who was responsible for all these gruesome scenes in Broken.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, then I have another accusation to make.
Yeah, most of them.
To the address of the director here, in the middle of Devil's Chair, one of the, if you like to call them like that, folded or postmodernist comments that character, Nick, of course, makes is to us, the audience. Are you satisfied now? You know, are you satisfied with all this blood and all this gore, as if he is accusing us? Well, you're the last person in the world to blame us for enjoying blood and gore.
Okay.
Agree?
No, exactly. I mean, basically, that's the characters speaking to myself, you know?
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it's a really personal film, and my issues are always about boundaries and how far can you push anything, you know? And it's a very personal film for me in that sense, that I always wonder why audiences want to see this kind of stuff, and why me personally want it, you know, why do I want to see this kind of thing, you know?
Right. And do you have an answer also for that?
I was saying to Tristan, we were just sat at the bar a minute ago, and I was saying about how it's basically like gladiatorial, you know, it's like the arena, and people love to watch violence, voyeuristic fantasy, you know? So what can you say about it? And the film was just like me pondering, why do you want to see it? Why do I personally want to see this?
And do you feel guilty sometimes about wanting to see this, let alone wanting to make it?
Well, I think I feel more guilty about wanting to make it than wanting to see it, you know. But you know, but if you've seen Broken, you know the kind of stuff I make, and I've
But you shouldn't, because I mean, these movies are. There are some horror movies out there that, you know, I think Eli Roth, the accusation versus Eli Roth, that is just torture porn, you know, with a thin layer of pseudo-morality over it.
I've been accused of that a bunch of times, you know, with Broken. So.
Really?
Yeah, torture porn. I'm a misogynist. I hate women. All this kind of stuff. It's like
that doesn't fly if you look at the movie.
If
carefully.
you then show a short movie like this one before your film, those accusations won't stop.
exactly. That's why I got Tristan involved.
Yeah, that was not the perfect warm-up.
Yeah.
As far as that accusation goes.
But I don't know what I think about that stuff really. I mean, I don't know. As a filmmaker, it's just interesting to keep making these films, and I'm interested in the process of what it is that makes horror fans like horror. And I'm a horror fan. I'm a massive horror fan. Right. So, yeah.
When we started off the Q&A, you said that you were working on a bunch of scripts that are better than The Devil's Chair. Have you already started filming on some of those? And can you tell us something about those scripts?
Yeah, I made a film last year called Blood River.
I saw that a few of your new films are in post-production already, right?
That one's in post-production, yeah. So I'm just finishing that off. That's very, very different from Devil's Chair. It's a lot more like Broken, actually. If you saw Blood River next to Broken, then it would kind of make sense. Devil's Chair was like a weird oddity that kind of happened. Like I said about the way it happened was just really weird, and how I ended up having to make it work was a bit odd as well. But yeah, so I've done this film, Blood River, that I'm really fucking proud of, and I think it's a big step up, you know. It's like a really dark psychological thriller. It's a lot more like, it's kind of like Seven or a film like that, if I was going to compare it to something. It's horrific, but without seeing the violence, you know, there's nothing, it's all implied, you know.
You've referenced Broken a lot of times, so I guess you're really proud of that one. Now you say it's a step up from Broken. So how do you say have you evolved? How would you say have you evolved as a director to be able to take that step up? And also, do you listen to the reviews? If you've got, for example, mixed reviews, is there something you learn about it, or do you just say, "Oh, the bad reviews, they don't know anything about it, so just not gonna listen to it and fuck them"?
It's an interesting question, man. I think you have to listen to reviews, you know. As much as you hate them, I mean, there's nothing. It's like a personal thing. I mean, most people in life don't have to read such venom, you know. And for a couple of years, I wanted to personally inflict pain on these people, you know. But whatever. Everyone has an opinion, and that's a good thing. So I kind of learned that you have to listen to what people are saying. And I mean, Devil's Share isn't the film to rectify any of those situations, because it basically says "fuck you" to everyone.
So how do you think have you evolved since Broken to make between parentheses better movie?
I mean, I was making films for absolutely no money, so I guess the way I've evolved is that I mean, meeting Andrew Howard as an actor, meeting like good actors was a massive stepping stone for me. Actually working with actors, because I mean, acting is like such a massive part of a film, and before that I'd never really had the opportunity. Yes. So just learning the language of, like, I mean, directing is probably 50% dealing with those kind of people, you know, and it is a kind of a breed. Actors are a breed, and you have to speak to them in a certain language.
If you look at your reviews of your past films, they have become more positive as your career has progressed. Okay. I think that was really obvious.
Semi, I would say. I don't know. I've always had reviews that kind of they're either like 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Like, lots of people hate me so much.
Are we talking here about reviews in like newspaper or magazines, or are we talking about internet reviews on forums?
Mainly internet reviews.
Yeah, I think those are like slightly more interesting anyway. You know.
I find it fascinating. Like, I was called a misogynist so many times that I didn't really know what to do about it. You know.
Maybe I'll check IMDb on Broken tonight. I'm curious what's written there.
Really?
It can't all be bad. Come on.
No, I mean, yeah, but you make something like that, and a certain amount of people really respond to it, which is fantastic, and then a lot of people hate it. And in the same way, someone hating a film is a good review as someone liking it.
I think the problem with that kind of reviews online, for example, is that anyone can write them, and oftentimes people aren't able to look at it or at them from an objective point of view, like a journalist normally should be able to.
Yeah.
Like they do. If they exaggerate, you can always do what Uwe Boll did.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, what I hate it when it becomes like personal. Yeah. When people start saying you hate all women, I'm like, fuck you. You know. Seriously, like, I just don't understand how they can make it that personal, but they always do. So. Okay. But that's the thing about internet reviews. They tend to make it like a personal thing about the director.
Can just tell them I hate you as well. So.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do now.
Moving on Broken, you still shared directing credits with Simon Boyes, and on this movie, alone. Yeah. So what's the nature of your relationship at the moment?
I mean, Simon's.
Relationship, obviously.
Yeah, Simon is my writing partner.
Yeah.
And we've written all of the films I've made together. So he wants to go off and do his own thing, which is fantastic. But he's not so much into the horror genre as I am. I mean, like I said, I grew up with all these movies, and I'm a massive fan. Whereas Simon is more, I don't know. He'd love to go and make it like a Coen Brothers style film, you know. Right. So, but he's quite a bit younger than me. He's only 26, so he's got a great film in him. He's going to go and do really well.
Does that mean that at the moment your cooperation is on hold?
No, not at all. We've written. Like I said, we've done Blood River together, and then we've just written this other film called The Mirror that we're going to probably make next year, and we're working on a bunch of other things. So.
Has The Devil's Chair already been picked up by distributors?
Well, apparently that's a long story, but yeah, Sony in the US, I think. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really want to talk about it because the company is such cunts. Right. Who made it?
What's the problem? Is it or is it not going to be available for us to get our hands on?
It's going to come out, man. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Right. But they're like a crooked company, I would say.
But we might still have to wait for it a little bit. Is that it?
Yeah. No, it's going to come out. It will be out soon,
Okay, good.
I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I know some people still want to have autographs and want to catch their bus home. If you have any more questions,
There are no buses anymore, people.
no? Whatever. There's a shuttle, no? Anyway, yeah, okay. Any more questions from you? No? Well, in that case, guys, we want to thank you a lot for coming here with another great movie for our midnight slot. And
Et merci pour venir. Passez un beau festival.
Thank you.
okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You asked us later on.